SequenceEqual method. It determines whether two sequences are equal according to an equality comparer. This means, we have two sequences and we want to check if both are the same. Two sequences are the same in case the following three conditions are true. Both have the same number of elements. Both have the same elements and in the same order. This method returns a Boolean result. If both sequences are the same, we get true, else we get false. SequenceEqual has two overloads. The first one is very simple. We first have the first sequence, the method with the second sequence. This overload is to compare both sequences together. The second overload includes a comparer, allowing for more customized comparison rules. I will show you some examples using both overloads. But first I want to mention something important. The sequences we want to compare must be of the same type. For example, an array of integers with an array of integers. Or a list of strings with a list of strings. Or even a string with a string, or a number with another number. So, we cannot compare an array with a data table. This method is also not to compare complex data types, such as data tables, dictionaries, etc. It's only for simple sequences, such as arrays, lists, strings, integers, etc. In other words, this method can be used with any data type that has a default equality comparer. To compare complex data types, we need to implement a custom comparer. Let's now check some examples to understand how does this method work. Suppose we have the following two arrays. Both contain the same elements, in the same order. To compare both arrays we can use the following query. This query returns true because both arrays have the same number of elements and in the same order. Suppose the second array has now the same elements, but in a new order. The query returns false because a condition of the three conditions is not met. So, the order of the elements is not the same, therefore the sequences are not the same. Suppose we have the following two arrays again, but the elements are not written in the same case. As you can see, some elements in the first and second array are written in uppercase. The query returns also false, because the elements are not the same. Suppose the case of the words is not important and we want to ignore case. To do that, we can use the second overload of the method in this way. Here we used a string comparer to ignore case, because we are comparing two sequences of strings. This query returns true because both sequences are supposed to be the same after ignore case. This is how to use both overloads of SequenceEqual method. That also was only an introduction of using both overloads of the method. Let's now see how to use this method in real use cases with other clauses and methods. Imagine you have a table, my table, filled with rows of data. Now, you want to find rows that are unique, those that don't have any duplicates in the table. In other words, we want to get the following rows as result. Here's a query that does exactly that. Let's break it down. We start by looking at each row in my table. For each row, we check how many times a row with the exact same content appears in the table. We use SequenceEqual on item array, which is a way of looking at the row's content. If the content matches exactly only once, it means this row is unique. We select such unique rows and put them together into a new table. So, this query gives us a new table with only the unique rows from my table. Now, suppose you want to find rows that are not unique, meaning these rows have duplicates in the table. Here's how the query changes. Here's what's happening here. Again, we go through each row in my table. We look for rows with contents that appear more than once in the entire table. SequenceEqual helps us by comparing the content of the rows. When we find a row that appears more than once, we know it's a duplicate. We select all such rows that are duplicates and collect them into a new table. And with this query, we get a table filled with rows that have duplicates in my table. Both queries use the SequenceEqual method to compare the content of the rows. By changing the condition from =1 to more than 1, we switch from finding unique rows to finding duplicates. It's a powerful way to analyze data in tables and find what we're looking for. Let's delve into another practical example using DataTables. Imagine we have two tables, my table 1 and my table 2. Visually, they appear identical, same columns, same order, and the same number of rows with matching content. Our task is to verify if they are indeed the same using SequenceEqual. As we have discussed earlier, SequenceEqual is best suited for simple data types. When dealing with complex types like data tables, we need to use a comparer. .NET provides a built-in comparer for data rows, known as DataRowComparer.default. Here's how we can use it. This line of code employs the second overload of SequenceEqual with the data row comparer. It checks if each row in my table 1 has an exact match in my table 2. If they do, the result is true, indicating the tables are identical. In this example we get true. Now, consider a scenario where the columns are in the same order, but the rows are not. If we run the same query, the result will be false, as SequenceEqual also considers the order of the rows. However, what if the order doesn't concern us, and we are only interested in the content? We can sort the rows by a specific column before comparison. Suppose we use the order ID column. With this query, we sort both tables by the order ID before comparing them. Now, SequenceEqual confirms the contents match, regardless of the original row order, and returns true. This example illustrates how to adapt SequenceEqual for complex types like data tables. Whether you need to check for identical tables or just matching contents, SequenceEqual can be a powerful tool in your arsenal. That concludes how you can use the SequenceEqual method in practical scenarios to work with data tables. It's a straightforward way to compare and filter data based on our needs. Remember, SequenceEqual is a powerful tool in your LINQ arsenal for when sequence and order matter just as much as content. Use it wisely, and you will find many practical applications in your coding projects.